a special story because it's Father's Day, sort of, kind of, maybe. And I have a friend who is about to, at any moment, become a first-time dad at the age of 40. Surprise! And it's wonderful to watch the transition from, oh my God, no, I would never have a kid. Who the hell wants to have kids? To, I just want to hold my baby. And most of the time, I really enjoy talking to him about this new adventure he's on. Like when he says, come here, Ann, look at something, it's really cool. And I say, I cannot stand to look at diapers.com one more time. If you want to order a flatbed truck full of diapers, go knock yourself out, but I've had enough of that. He says, no, look at this. And he holds up a diaper bag. Yes, that's a diaper bag. Yeah, and it's got really cool stuff in it. Yeah, really cool stuff. A little hat. And they're tiny diapers. Do you think they'll fit? Do you really think they come into this world wearing Depends? And for the most part, this is all fun and great, and I love talking about it, but sometimes it pisses me off. Because by the time you get to be 40 years old, you think you know something about the world, except the parts that you don't know anything about. And when he tells me, I know all about parenting, I've read the books. No, you don't. And one thing I can tell you, dear man, is that you better understand there is a big difference between little boy babies and little girl babies. No, how can you say that? There's such gender stereotyping. You have confusion about gender roles. I don't want to hear that. Oh, really now? I have a few things to say about gender stereotyping. I was raised in a family where the women outnumbered the men 3 to 1. There was my mother, and there was my sister, and there was me, and my poor father. And I didn't know anything about gender stereotyping, but I grew up believing that there was no place that my father would rather be than in our house, doing things on Saturday morning like braiding my sister's doll's hair. And when he accidentally stepped on one of those tiny little Barbie doll shoes with a heel with a spike on it, that was really sad, but it was just a price you had to pay to live with such beauty and splendor. And me, well, I was the firstborn, the overly conscientious, neurotic child. And guess what I like to do best? I like to dress up. Shocking, isn't it? And the other thing that I really like to do was I like to write my own skits and perform them in the backyard. And never, not once, did I think that my father wanted to be anywhere else but sitting on the deck watching me perform yet another bad skit like the one you're seeing now, in another terrible outfit like the one you're seeing now, where my sister was written in bit parts, usually playing the part of a troll, or a monster, or a goat. While I was the princess. And this was a girl family, and this is what I was used to. And when I was pregnant with my first child, and I went off to the sonogram, I was sure that it was a girl, because, by God, I knew how to do girl. We were going to have so many crafts in that house, it would look like a Michael's warehouse. And then we saw the sonogram, and there was my son, waving his penis like a flag. And I knew suddenly that life was going to be very different than what I had thought it was going to be. And it was. Now you have to understand, I don't try to be an exceptional parent. I don't even try to be a very competent parent. I try to be a good enough parent. And when we got to 5 months before we had our first serious infection, I was like, yes. So when we stood in the CVS line, which is like standing in the DMV line, except there's less security, we were backed up so far down the aisle, we were in the toy section. And I have a floppy 5-month-old with a strep infection, and he's just sort of moaning, And then he perks up and he looks at something, and I'm looking around to see what a 5-month-old would possibly be interested in. Jacks? No, you choke and die. Play-Doh? You don't know what that is. A toy car? For 3-year-olds? 3-year-olds, 5 months old, good enough parenting. I think I'll get it for him. It was his favorite toy for the next 3 years. When I finally pried it out of his hands, it was missing all 4 wheels, the steering column, and the trunk. His first word was duck. His third word was mama. His second word, after much coaxing, say mama, mama, mama. God damn it, say mama. Was Volvo. I thought, there must be a mistake. We don't own a Volvo. The kind of neighborhood we live in has never seen a Volvo. Where could he have learned that word? I looked at him again. Mama. He looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about, woman? Volvo. By the time he was 2, he could mimic 5 different engine sounds, including backfiring. When we walked down the parking lot in Tyson's, he could point to cars and go, Honda Odyssey, Lexus 500, BMW, Volvo. The kid couldn't tell the difference between a chicken and a pig, but he knew his cars. The next thing I know, we're sitting at a monster truck show, and I'm discussing the finer points of Gravedigger versus Predator as they jump over piles of dirt at the Verizon Center. This was soon followed by a NASCAR event with a 6-year-old, and I had to shield his eyes from the Winston-Salem girls who had their tits hanging out. My second son did not like cars. He liked something different. Weapons. He knows every weapon the military has made across the world in the last 50 years, and who says there's nothing educational about video games? So my 2 boys combined have never heard a fart joke that won't send them into peals of laughter. In fact, any sound that comes out of any other orifices must be shouted proudly, loudly, and competitively. So when I found out that my college-age son was going to bring his girlfriend to live with me in the summer, I thought, oh, reinforcements. I finally get a daughter to play with. We can play with makeup, we can go shopping, we can cook. It'll be fantastic if she'll listen to things that I say. Somehow it hasn't quite worked out. Oh, I got used to the fact the girl has no cellulite. Perfect blonde hair, breasts that hang up here without any suspension whatsoever. I have gotten used to the fact that when we go into public, all eyes go, and I become the invisible woman. But there are certain things that are hard to get used to. One of the first things we did together was a cooking class. My boys only care about dinner being on the table. They don't care about how it's made or prepared. My little friend Snuggles came with me to cooking class, and we enjoyed watching the chefs prepare the food, and we enjoyed tasting the 3 courses, and we enjoyed the unlimited wine. Snuggles is not quite 21, but I've told you, I am not going for exceptional parenting. I'm going for good enough. And when the sommelier asked me, can she drink? I said, sure, why not? After the 3rd glass of wine, Snuggles threw back her perfectly coiffed blonde hair, grinned at me and said, you know, there's advantages to hanging out with older women. This was not the summer of girl power I thought it would be. Next, we tried to go to Sephora together. Now, when you go into Sephora, the clerks kind of pounce on you like you are prey of the day. They shuttled cute little Snuggles off to the front of the store where she frolicked with the sparkly makeup and tasted the lip gloss that tastes like chocolate. Me, they led to the back, where they have the spackle and the blow torches and the medicinal things where they say, you know, it's really nice stuff. They prescribe it for people after plastic surgery. Again, this is not going the way I planned. But one night, I brought out my stash of beads, and Snuggles and I bonded over my beads, and we were playing crafts, and I thought, isn't this delightful? Let's talk about boys. Oh, good, we can talk about boys. And Snuggles looks at me and she says, I know, it must be so hard for you to meet people your age. And I said, yes, Snuggles, it is. You know, men my age often have had heart attacks, or they have arthritis, or they have other problems. And she said, no, that's not what I mean. When I meet a young man, we don't have all the baggage you have. Ooh, give me back those damn beads, girl. It's time for you to go off to bed. We did try one more shopping foray. We were walking past Victoria's Secrets, and she said, hey, let's go in. And I said, hey, let's not. I need underwear that stays on, dear. I need the stuff that's like functional. And she said, oh, and she's trying very hard to be empathetic and sympathetic and nice and not hurt my feelings. She goes, you're right. That lace underwear, it rips so easily. For the rest of my life, I have this visual image in my head of Snuggles and my son and lace underwear that's ripping. And I really, really wish I could make that image go away. But what I want to say in the end is whether you get a son or whether you get a daughter, you never get quite what you think you're going to get. And to my friend who's about to get a baby boy, I wish him the best of luck. And I'd like to talk to him in a month after 3 days straight with no sleep and no shower and no shaving. And for the record, I love Snuggles very much. And she's sitting right back there. You can behold the beauty of 20 years old.